Hi, welcome back to my channel. What I've decided to do is to visit an old friend of mine named Barry. We met at an English speaking competition about 10 years ago now in a place called Forshan. This is Barry.
Hi, my name's Barry. I met Tony in, as he said, an English speaking competition.
So I arrived in China in 2007, so within the first couple of months of being there I was invited by another school where Barry was working. I was working in Guangzhou and he was working in Forshan.
Yeah.
Is there a big difference between Forshan and Guangzhou?
Not a great deal of difference. It was a bit more open. There was a bit. Guangzhou was very big canyons of tall buildings and very smoky, very hot. But Forshan tends to be a little bit lower. But recently, I believe it's been built up a lot more.
When did you arrive in China?
I first got there in 2000, but I got to Forshan in 2005.
Right. Okay. And when you got there, was it what you expected before you left the UK?
No.
In which way?
In any way, my first actually impression was getting off the train in Guangzhou, and my first real feeling about it was the smell of smoke, of burning wood type smoke. I don't know whether that was just in that particular area of Guangzhou East railway station there was burning something, but that was my first impression, was smoke, and obviously the heat and the humidity.
Yeah. When did you leave China?
I left there in 2012, came back to England.
And did you come back to stay here, or what was your intentions?
Yeah, it was to come back home.
Yeah. Had you had enough?
Well, it was family pressure that they kept complaining about. I'd been away too long. I'd been in Dali for 7 years, in Forshan, Dali, and they wanted me to come home again, so I came home.
Right. And when you came home, was you able to walk back into employment?
Yes, pretty much. I actually stayed for about 2 weeks with my daughter, and during that time I approached my old employer that I'd left 7 years previously, and walked straight back into my old job.
Wow. If someone out there watching this is thinking of going to China, what advice would you give them in preparation?
Forget everything you've ever heard about China, because whatever you've heard is wrong. You can't believe anything until you see it for yourself and experience it for yourself.
Are you referring to the media?
I'm referring to...
Even this conversation?
Well, no, pretty much the media, I would imagine. And what you've read in books is all completely wrong. Don't bother buying the Lonely Planet Guide to China, like I did, and reading that and thinking you know something about China, because even that is complete and utter nonsense, in my opinion, which is for what it's worth.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, you need to go there. There were other teachers who came to China, or people who came to teach. They weren't teachers.
Yeah.
And they lasted a few weeks because they couldn't cope with the differences.
Can you give an example?
Well, the food, the language, the attitude of the people, the accommodation. It's all very different from what you're likely to expect.
Right. Okay. What if you had to say what was the worst part of China you discovered and found it uncomfortable to deal with in all your time there?
Well, coming from England, I'm sure they have these kind of things in America as well, but the wildlife that used to inhabit the world that we lived in China, I'm talking of course about the rats and the cockroaches.
Yeah.
Those were the only things really that annoyed me the most, were the rats and the cockroaches. And it didn't seem to matter what you did. they always manage to find
A way in.
a way. Example, in the air conditioning unit in the teacher's office where I worked, they inhabited the bottom of it. And we opened it up one time, and there was all packets of biscuits that the teachers had in their desks that the mice or the rats or whatever had squirreled away, and they were having a party in there, obviously, you know. All they needed was some tea, and they had tea and biscuits.
Are you implying the Chinese are not hygienic?
Not really. I'm not implying that at all, because they will wash everything. Even when you go to a restaurant, the first thing everybody does is they call for the waitress to come and bring really hot tea, and they wash all the utensils before they use them. They'll clean everything, but it's so difficult because there were so many cockroaches around, because of the temperate region that we were used to living in England, and going to a subtropical region, the insect life is a lot more, how can I put it, there's just more of it, I think.
Right, okay. And what would you say is the best part of China that you discovered whilst you were there?
Well, the one thing that I hear from people in England is they say, oh, I had this really fantastic Chinese dinner from the takeaway down the road the other night. The food that we had in China was so much different from the things that they serve in the Chinese takeaways here. I don't know if you've ever noticed that all the Chinese takeaways have exactly the same menu.
Yeah, they do.
It's always the same things. You can't get the food that we had in China. You can't get it unless you go. The only time we had it was in London, in Gerrard Street, in Chinatown, and they actually asked if we wanted it cooked in a Chinese way rather than a Western way. And I'm thinking, well, of course, because that's what we got used to.
Well, on a personal level, all the Chinese restaurants I've ever visited in the UK, those Chinese people are all from Hong Kong. I've never met any restaurant owners who have come from mainland China.
When I first came back, I went to a Chinese takeaway restaurant in Woodbridge where my sister lives.
Okay.
And there was two girls there serving behind the counter, and I spoke to them in Chinese, and they looked at me like I was from another planet. And their mother was listening, and she came out and she said to the two girls, he's speaking to you in Mandarin. And I said, oh, okay. So I started trying to speak to her, and she said, I don't speak Mandarin, I speak Cantonese, but I'm from Vietnam. So they weren't even Chinese. Yeah, and these two girls had been brought up in England, went to school there, didn't speak any kind of Chinese at all.
Is this one of these situations where people may be accused of, just because we look Asian, you think we're Chinese, like we don't understand?
Well, yeah, possibly.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Just slightly, without being offensive, do you think that attitude is particularly bad?
Well,
without being offensive, maybe some people would find offence in anything these days.
Yeah, a lot of people find offence.
Do Asians mostly look alike?
Not to me, no.
No, not to me either.
No, but then, even in China they look different, don't they?
Yeah.
But from people that have never been there, who've probably not only ever seen Chinese people on the TV, they all probably do look very similar.
I personally asked a Chinese person a question in Chinese in London, and they've never been to China and didn't speak Chinese. So they was offended.
Oh, well.
Yeah. But many Chinese think Westerners look alike.
But they do, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was at a slight disadvantage. The first school that I went to was in a place called Guangzhou, and there was an Australian guy there who was roughly the same height as me, and maybe slightly taller.
Yeah.
We both had red hair, we both got green eyes, and we both had white skin.
Yeah.
So we got confused from the students for a while, until they got used to the fact that...
they actually didn't know who was who?
Yeah.
They
used to call us by the wrong names, because they thought they were talking to the other one.
Right.
But after a while, they got used to us. You know.
Wow.
Well, I think they got used to me and my funny ways. Yeah.
One of the other things I wanted to point out to you, the viewer, is when and if you ever decide to go to China, you will at some point get into a relationship. And if Barry doesn't mind me asking, I'm going to ask him some personal questions. When you get married in China, you are given what's called a marriage visa. And this is very, very different from a working visa. You cannot work on a marriage visa. So if you get a job, then you must change your marriage visa to a working visa. And the rules are very, very different. Okay, so bear that in mind. You cannot work on a marriage visa, but you can stay in China for 12 months. Every 12 months you must renew that visa. And they can turn it down. Right, so what's the situation when you come to the UK and you want to marry a Chinese person?
It's a whole can of worms you're opening.
Yeah, okay.
It's a whole new.
Can she just come to China, UK with you and get married?
No, not as simple as that. If you get married in China first,
yes,
then it's possibly easier. I'm not sure.
Right.
But the way it worked out for us was I came back to England and then my wife or my fiance came over about 2 years later. And that was a whole fresh hell itself.
Right, so am I right in saying if you want to marry a Chinese person, you must have a job?
Yes.
You must have an income of a certain level?
£18,600.
And this job you must have for several years or months prior?
6 months. You have to supply bank statements, pay slips, letter from your employer to say that you actually have a job.
Yeah.
We even included the contract that I think, didn't we?
The employer's contract.
The employer's contract.
Yeah.
There were so many hoops we had to jump through to actually. This is just to get a fiancé visa to get my fiancée here. Now the price of that visa at that particular time was £880.
Pounds?
Pounds.
Sterling? Oh wow.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
Right, and that was a 6-month visa.
I think that's about $1,400 US. Yeah.
Right, so having spent. Also, my fiancée had to have an English test in China.
An English test?
Yeah.
A spoken English or written?
Spoken English test.
Okay, that's something that 99% of most foreigners would fail. Go into China.
Yes.
Yeah.
100% I would say.
Yeah.
Unless they'd actually studied Chinese before they went.
Yeah.
And then that visa only was valid, as I say, for 6 months.
Yeah.
And then we have to apply for a settlement visa after that, which cost us the first one, after filling in a 72-page application form, printed out.
Yeah.
That one cost us £1,000, which was valid for 2.5 years.
This is done in the UK?
In the UK.
And is it sent back to the Chinese embassy in China? Your fiance's living in Forshan at the time?
Yeah. And she had to go to the UK embassy in Guangzhou, or the consulate in Guangzhou, to apply for the fiancé visa, fill in the form as well. We had to do it online, was that right? It was just online.
He's talking to his good lady who's shy and she's just off camera at the moment.
She had to fill it in online, then go to the embassy for an interview. Yes? Was that correct? Yes. My apologies. But once we got here to England, it doesn't get any easier. We just started filling the same 72-page application after the 6 months visa had expired. We actually, that was the other thing, we had to prove that we were going to get married.
Okay.
Now, to get married in England, you have to go to a registry office or a church.
Yeah.
And you have to apply for the banns to be read in the church or wherever. And there has to be displayed in the registry office for 3 weeks
Yeah.
before you can get married. Now, the only problem with that is you need to both go to the registry office or the church to do it.
And she's in China.
And she's in China, so you can't actually apply to somewhere to get married unless you both go to do it.
Mm.
This was in 2014 anyway.
Maybe all the answers to these problems can be solved now on that wonderful site called .gov.uk.
I doubt it very much. But yeah, I actually found a registry office which was in Norwich.
Yeah.
Remember that? Norwich registry office would allow me to pay them some money, and they sent me a thing saying, yes, he's going to get married on this particular date. And then that was sent hard copy and scanned, and everything was DHL'd to...
Okay, so let's moving forward. So let's say all this paperwork is done. When your spouse comes to the UK,
Right.
is she able to work? Is she able to work?
No.
But you and I can go to China and work immediately.
Yes.
But why can't she work in the UK?
The visa doesn't allow it. The fiancé visa doesn't allow you to work.
So this is a bit now, the Chinese visa, the family visa in China doesn't allow you to work either. So this concept is the same.
Right, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So can she change her marriage visa with you to a working visa straight away?
After you get married,
Yeah.
the settlement visa,
Yeah.
you can apply for your social security number
Yeah.
and a driving licence.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't do that before then, could you? Didn't do that before. So basically when Vera got here, she just had to sit at home for 6 months
Right.
until we got the first...
Rehearse the COVID.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Isolation. I'm so used to isolation.
not a problem, I can sit at home for 6 months
Yeah.
and do nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, after the 6 months, after we got married within a month, but we had to...
Yeah.
We left it until the last month,
Yeah.
and we went to this wonderful place called Luna House
Mm-hmm.
in Wellesley Road, Croydon,
Okay.
and got the first settlement visa.
Uh-huh.
We paid the premium, which was an extra £400 to get the decision on the day, rather than wait X amount of months for it to come through, like we did on the last one. But the upshot of that was, after you got the first settlement visa, you had limited leave to remain, effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Leave to remain, what a wonderful expression it is. Leave to remain.
Yeah.
Leave to remain. Remain to leave. Leave to remain. Well, anyway, that was valid for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of that 2.5 years, we had to apply for the second visa, because it's a 5-year plan that you're on.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
And the second one cost us £1,400.
Who's that paid to? Is it?
It was Theresa May,
Right. Okay.
personally, I think.
Right. Okay.
She put it straight to her bank.
She was the Prime Minister at the time
Yes.
of the UK.
And that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of that 2.5 years, we applied for indefinite leave to remain, which cost us the princely sum of £2,436.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And now,
So the total cost
breathe a sigh of
so far is about 5,500.
Yeah.
This is to get someone from China into the UK, married and able to work.
Yes.
Given the opportunity, would you go back?
Given the opportunity to do it all again, yes. To go back in time to where I started from before, I would keep it completely the same.
Okay, both you and your wife have settled down. You've had a wonderful daughter who sat just off camera, very confident. Would you take the family back and settle back down in China?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
Is that something that you both agree on.
Yes.
Yeah.
The reason for that is the education system. We both don't like the education system there.
In China.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, you have to bear in mind that the school that I was working at was a boarding school, and boarding schools are a bit different from a school where you just go there in the morning and come home in the afternoon. It's a very strict regime that they had to deal with.
Yeah.
It's not very pleasant, and I grew to actually to hate it. And the way I described it was,
both you and your partner lived and worked in the school too?
in the same school, yeah. Oh,
Right.
we lived in the same school, worked in the same school.
Right. Okay.
The way I came to describe the school and the education system, maybe just, it's not uncommon, was it was a prison, and the only crime the inmates had committed was to be born.
That's a pretty stark
That's the way.
assessment. This is boarding school though.
Yeah.
I mean, those that are not in boarding schools don't suffer from this regime.
That's true.
Yeah.
They get to go home. The students weren't allowed any toys.
Yeah.
They weren't allowed things like that to play with. So if your lessons weren't interesting enough for them, you'd find them, you could always tell,
Yeah.
a quick scan in the classroom, you'd see the top of a head, and it would be a black haired head. And if you couldn't see their face, they were playing with something in their desk. And it was usually something like a little, something shiny, just something that attracted their attention.
Okay. Now this, the school that, we don't necessarily need to name the school, but it was in Forshan, and I was invited there for an English speaking competition. Is that because you didn't have enough foreign teachers? Why did they want someone from the outside?
No idea.
Okay. But this frequently happens. If you're a teacher, you will get invited to other schools to assist in competitions, and that happened many times.
Actually, the first school I went to,
Yeah.
we were invited to go to a school in Guangzhou to watch some demonstration classes.
Yeah.
And we got there a little bit late because the weather was bad.
Yeah.
It was raining.
Yeah.
And we sort of snuck into the back of the classroom and sat down. And I was looking and listening, and then I turned to the head of the English department and said to him, I thought we were coming to watch an English class.
Yeah.
And he said, shh, it is an English class. I said, well, she hasn't spoken English yet. And we'd been sitting there 10 minutes and she'd been speaking Chinese.
Yeah.
And it wasn't for another 5 minutes that she actually wrote up some sentences on the board that were English.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, okay. So she teaches English and Chinese. After the lesson, I thought I'll invite this teacher to come to our school and watch some of our lessons, particularly my lessons.
Yeah.
And I went up to this teacher. They were all standing in a group and just yakking away. And I said, hello, my name's Barry, and put my hand out, and she looked at me. And then she looked at the translator next to her for a translation.
Yeah.
And I thought, was that so difficult? Hello, my name's Barry. That's English 101, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the first lesson. Hello, what's your name? My name's blah blah blah.
Well, yeah.
In any English book, grade 1 book,
Yeah.
hello, what's your name? She didn't understand English, but she was teaching English.
Okay. Yeah.
It was the fact that she turned to the translator for a translation.
I understand that. 100% understand that, because I saw it so often myself.
Yeah.
Right. Changing the subject, because I want to start to wrap this up. There's 2 people on YouTube I watch quite avidly, 2 YouTubers, the Barrett channel and Serpent Z.
Oh.
Have you ever watched them?
I've seen Lee Barrett's channel.
Okay, Serpent Z. He speaks, reads and writes Chinese, and he spent a long time in China, travelled the whole of China, and he's gone to America. He's from South Africa, but he now lives in America, and he highlights all the bad points, and seriously highlights the bad points, one or 2 points that you've just mentioned, but he would hammer home how bad China is in compared to the rest of the world. Most of his stuff is actual factual, but with an emphasis on the negative. And Lee Barrett is renowned for highlighting the positive sides of China. But
Well, there are positives and negatives, yes.
yeah,
I can only say my experience. I was treated like a VIP most of the time. You know, I didn't have to do anything or say anything, and I was just treated a lot better than the Chinese people treat each other.
yeah,
I really don't like this. I'm going to go on YouTube and slag them off and say how bad they are, you know, because there's good and bad everywhere.
yeah,
Even the UK and America. Donald Trump, George W. Bush. You know,
yeah,
what can you say? There are good people, there are bad people everywhere, right? My experiences were mostly good. I didn't have any problems with anybody there. I know you did when you were leaving there finally, but
yeah,
my experiences were, if you're the kind of person who can just relax and take things as they come, which is what I used to think I was like,
yeah,
and I think I still am actually. I never got upset. The thing that the principal and the head of the English department of the first school I went to were always asking me for the first 3 or 4 months I was there was, is everything okay? And I'm going, yeah, everything's fine. What? You know, nothing's wrong. Is your room okay? Yeah, room's okay. The air conditioner's a bit noisy, but apart from that, it's okay. Oh, what about this? And they was constantly asking me if everything was okay. Because what you end up with, you hit a wall. The culture shock doesn't hit you straight away. It's normally about 3 months. But for me, it was about 6 months.
And for me, it was about 2 years.
It was about 6 months before I started thinking, oh, this is really, you know, it's really different. You know.
Yeah. I've personally found things enjoyable but slightly isolated, and then enjoyable and then confused, and then so busy I couldn't even do anything personal. Email wasn't quite the same in those days. Facebook had just come onto the scene, and I never had a great deal of contact with the UK. And we know VPNs didn't exist. Internet connections were
dial up.
Yeah, by post. Yeah, yeah. So life was very difficult then, and
they had a teacher who went to in 2005. They had this teacher who lasted a week.
Yeah, a foreign teacher.
A foreign teacher. He came from Wales.
Yeah.
I don't know what he was going to teach him. Boyo.
Yeah. He did away. Go go go.
Go go go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one. He lasted a week. He couldn't eat any of the food because all he ate was biscuits for that entire week he was there.
Biscuits.
Biscuits and cake.
Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't like the food in the school. He didn't like the food in the restaurants. And okay, not enough lamb in it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And he left after a week. And his culture shock experience obviously came a lot sooner than both mine and yours did.
Yeah.
But yeah, that if you do go to China and you go there to live and work, to be a teacher, you can't expect everything to be the same as it is in England. You know, the language is different, the food's different, the air's different, the traffic's different. You drive on the other side of the road. Everything's different.
Yeah.
You know, it's just chalk and cheese between the UK and China. They're not bad people. There probably are bad people there. There are gangsters there. the same as there are gangsters in America and in the UK. You know, it's just humans.
Yeah.
But the majority of the people that I have always met and dealt with were nice people.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't want to do that in China. Oh, I was told in my first school, don't talk about religion, don't talk about Taiwan. What was the other thing?
3 T's.
Yeah.
I had these when I was talking to Lee Barrett.
Taiwan.
Come on.
I can't remember the third one.
Tibet.
Tibet. The 3 T's. Don't talk about Tibet, Taiwan.
And the other T? You only remembered one. I forgot one, and you forgot 2. The other one is Tiananmen Square.
Oh, Tiananmen Square.
Yeah. That's what they used to say. I think it doesn't matter so much now, but if you do talk about them, maybe that would be face to face in the coffee shop and not on your WeChat and not on a YouTube channel.
No.
Unless you're Seven, Z-A. Right, I'm going to start to wrap it up now.
Okay.
Not because of the long YouTube video, but because of this space on my camera.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, I apologise, I talk too much. It's true. It's true.
Right. I don't know, as you viewers know, I'm not that keen on tech savvy, should I say. I'm not that keen. I'm not that skilled. So I can't say I'll link Barry's YouTube or his at the bottom. Do you have a YouTube?
Yes.
Tell them what it is.
It's Barry Rab. It's Barry and Barry backwards. It's Barrya. Oh no. I can't remember it then. But it's.
No, you've got to say it. I can edit this out so you got it right. Barrya.
RRAB.
RRAB. Okay.
Yeah, so it's Barry forwards and then Barry backwards.
Barry Rab.
Yeah.
Okay. Barry Y Rab.
And you see a picture of Groucho Marx.
Okay. And do you have a particular subject that you do on your YouTube channel?
Basically motorcycles.
Oh, okay.
So I haven't done anything about China.
Right.
It's basically me riding my motorbike around Brands Hatch and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting. I like motorcycles, and so I have viewed some of his stuff, and it's interesting. And where he decides to place those cameras.
Actually, there was one very short video on there. It's called Hitting a Pigeon, Not for Beginners, where I was riding to work one morning and a pigeon flew out across and I hit it smack in the face.
Yeah.
My visor was down, but it broke my visor.
In fact, there was a motorcyclist, a professional racer, and I think it was a seagull came up and he ducked it. And he nutted it, yeah. You never got the chance.
Iannucci, he was a Italian guy.
Yeah.
It was at Phillip Island.
Right, okay. There you go.
Yeah.
Right, so if you like the channel, please give us a thumbs up. Please give us a thumbs up and write a comment of Barry's and myself's discussion on our experiences in China. As you know, I've been back in the UK for about 7 weeks. I haven't done a video for a long time. I've made the videos, I just haven't had time to edit them. And the reason for that is because of difficulties in me trying to settle down again in the UK. I'm finding it particularly difficult. I don't have that wife ambition to get a woman from China across to the UK as Barry did. He had his life sorted out. So mine's not sorted out that well at the moment, and I'm a bit chaotic. But I have done some videos and I hope to get those up pretty soon, along with this one. So until then, Barry's beautiful wife has gone upstairs, taken their daughter to bed, and I shall say farewell. And Barry?
Farewell, and hope you enjoy it. And hopefully you do go to China and see for yourself what it's like.
Yeah. Okay. Take care out there. All the very best. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let's do that end bit because that sounded like a kids' chat show. Take care. Bye-bye. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Please give a thumbs up. Write a comment on some of the things that we've spoken about. Until then, all the very best. Goodbye.
Bye bye.